long's it been since fucking Castlevania came out? Oh, shit. Peter Gabriel's Eve is a pretty weird game. It's a little point and click from 1996 that I don't see talked about very often, which is interesting considering the circumstances. Now I know what you're thinking here. Wait, Peter Gabriel? Like the fucking Genesis dude? He made a game? Nope, he made two. Now I've never played Explorer 1? Explorer? The fuck? Apparently it was a first of its kind CD-ROM, but I don't really give a shit. When I first read about these games, I thought Eve was gonna be way more up my alley because it kind of looked like Myst at first glance. How naive of me. No, Eve is like a game from another planet. I can't even say it's a particularly great game, but I'm hard-pressed to find anything else like it. Okay, what's the plot? Basically, the world is created when a sperm enters an egg. Adam and Eve are living in paradise when they accidentally unleash Pandora's briefcase. Now the whole world is turned into mud. Adam's gotta go through the different worlds in the game to find Eve.
And you gotta help us!
Also, penis. Yeah, it's one of those games. The art style is pretty unique to say the least. Most point-and-click games from this era would use pre-rendered CGI for environments with real people green screened in, but Eve uses photo manipulation for literally everything, which creates some pretty trippy and dreamlike environments. It kinda reminds me of Salvador Dali. I like it. Speaking of which, Eve also features works from a bunch of actual artists in these virtual art galleries. They're not my thing, but Peter Gabriel has a thing for spotlighting other artists, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But enough about all that artsy-fartsy shit, let's talk about the fucking gameplay. Basically, Eve has a really bizarre approach to puzzle solving. There's two kinds of puzzles here. Each world has a sort of a hub area with puzzles that are kinda your usual point-and-click shit with some dream logic thrown in for good measure. Then there's the room puzzles where you just have to click on 3 things in a room at a time. Once your 3 clicks are up, if you didn't click on all the right things, you've got to leave the room, come back, and click on shit again until you've clicked all the right things in the room. There's some slight variations on the formula, like this part where you've got to find tiny objects with a tiny magnifying glass, but effectively all the puzzles are the same. It's almost comparable to an I Spy book, except for this one. This puzzle's pretty cool. The hub puzzles actually have the potential to be worse though, because the stuff you're supposed to click on tends to blend right into the background. Add on the fact that these ones tend to run on dream logic, it's sometimes stupid difficult to figure out just what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. Take this part for example. You're supposed to dump these grass clippings on a specific part of the ground to continue, but the only visual indicator of the right spot are these birds that you could easily mistake for being part of the background. Or what about this part, where you have to hover over parts of these pipes so that they say, "in your eyes" in order? Like, how the fuck would you figure that out aside from accidentally rolling your mouse over one of these incredibly specific areas? Hell, even with the first puzzle in the game, you're supposed to open this briefcase by clicking on the latches, but you can barely even see the damn things. My biggest problem with the puzzles, or the lack thereof, is that they don't do anything to progress the story or themes of Eve. It's kinda like the devs just said, "Oh, we're making a video game, so I guess we just gotta go do a bunch of video game shit," and then put the bare minimum effort into designing them. But even with all that in mind, I doubt slapping in a bunch of inventory management or tube puzzles, God forbid, would have improved the game. In fact, I think they would have made it worse, because the puzzles clearly aren't the point. Maybe they should have just dropped the puzzles entirely and gone full walking simulator with it. I mean, hell, Gadget got away with it, so why not? The real draw of Eve are its themes about relationships anyway. Eve is all about how they start, how they change, how they fail, why we look for them, and a whole bunch of other shit. It doesn't explicitly tell you what it's on about. Well, kind of. It gives it all out in chunks and expects you to put the pieces together, basically. It's less, "Oh, you bring your own interpretation," and more like, "Hey, idiot, I dare you to figure out what I'm trying to say here." And I don't want that to come off the wrong way, it's just that Eve throws a bunch of shit at you and it keeps piling it on as you go. Now, if I wanted to go all film student on you, and I do, I'd say that the real gameplay of Eve is less about the literal puzzles and more about deciphering the meaning behind everything. It's a weird and experimental approach to game design, but I guess I should have expected that from someone like Peter Gabriel. But it's Peter Gabriel's approach to himself in Eve that'll make it or break it for people. Each of the game's worlds, except for Ruin, are all represented by a Peter Gabriel song. Not ones he wrote for the game, but instead ones he'd already released. You hear little snippets of Come Talk to Me in Mud, Shaking the Tree in Garden, In Your Eyes in Prophet, and a song from the Last Temptation of Christ soundtrack in Paradise, the idea being that they're used as allegories to convey the themes of their individual worlds. But I'd never actually heard Come Talk to Me and Shaking the Tree in full until after I'd finished playing Eve for the first time, so I didn't realize just what the hell the game was doing until I heard In Your Eyes play in the Music Maker thing that's so much nothing that I'm not even gonna get into it. Gabriel himself also cameos throughout the game, so really there's no escaping him. I don't want to say it was an ego thing. Maybe he just thought he wouldn't be able to sell it if it wasn't treated as a supplement to his music. Whatever the case, if you don't know who Peter Gabriel is or you don't like his music, how likely is it that you're gonna want to play Eve? Even on the opposite side of that spectrum, I highly doubt that your average Peter Gabriel fan is a hardcore point-and-click adventure gamer. I mean, no wonder this game's so fucking obscure. Who the fuck's the audience? It's not surprising that Eve kinda slipped into the aether the way that it did, but it's really a shame considering it's kind of a landmark. Really, how often do you get to see a respected artist from another medium cross over into video game design like this? What? Hey, fuck, no, get that out of here. Fuck off. Regardless of its flaws, Eve is a curious piece of gaming history, and I think it deserved a hell of a lot better than the complete nothing that it got. There's really nothing else quite like it out there. And if this looks like something you're interested in, go get yourself an old piece of shit computer and play it, because there'll probably never be anything else quite like it ever again.